Emanuela Barasch-Rubinstein is a writer, translator and a scholar in the humanities. Born in Jerusalem after her parents emigrated there from Eastern Europe, Emanuela now lives in Tel Aviv. Her husband, Yonah Rubinstein, is a professor at the London School of Economics. Her father was the noted art historian Moshe Barash. Emanuela studied in the humanities faculty of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Her PhD is in comparative religion and literature. She was part of the comparative religions graduate program at Tel Aviv University, and is now part of the Nevzlin Center for Jewish Peoplehood Studies at the Interdisciplinary Center, IDC, in Herzliya. Emanuela began her literary writing following the death of her father. Her book, 5 Selves, was published by Holland House Books in 2015. It is a collection of 5 novellas, addressing the issue of Israeli identity, in particular, the generation gap in Israel, coping with death and mourning, capitalistic values of Israeli society and, finally, the dying self. Today she talks to Julia Warren about her latest novel, Delivery, and her creative process.
Hello, Emanuela. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
You're most welcome. So how is life post-delivery?
Life post-delivery is actually very interesting. I wrote this novel to surface different aspects of having a child. And since it was published, first in Hebrew and now in English, I got many emails, chats, all sorts of messages on the social networks from women describing past experience. And it's been fascinating for me. And I also think it's very important, actually. And I would say the reactions are divided into 2 groups. Most women just, it seems that past experience is surfacing and they are recalling things that, happened sometimes 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And a small group of women just completely resent the fact that I actually wrote a book about giving birth. Why do you need to write about it? To me, it's just, another expression of the very profound oppression of the subject, that people, for different reasons just do not want to face it. So, but it's been very interesting. I read each and every, email or message with great interest. And I also think honestly, I think it's important to talk about it, to bring up the subject.
Is that something to do with that whole mystery of life, perhaps, do you think?
Well,
it's too deep for some people to explore. Yeah. They feel it's too massive, too great.
Might be the case, To be honest, I'm not sure I fully understand why giving birth is repressed so much. There are different, sure we will talk about it, there are different explanations for this. The main one being the feminist one, okay, Simone de Beauvoir and others that, suggested that society on purpose doesn't want women to understand how difficult it is. I'm not sure I know exactly what the answer is. It's just something that people do not talk about, yeah.
Where are you at the moment? Because it looked very interesting.
Okay, so I have 3 sons. One of them is in Berkeley, California, and I'm visiting him now. You see, I gave birth 3 times, and this happened a long time ago, not recently. But for years, I've carried the feeling that the way it is society perceives giving birth, the attitude, is so distorted and unrealistic that, I've had this idea about writing this book for quite some time, until I finally sat down, and wrote it. But it's been there for a while, This is just a certain segment of life that is missing, is lacking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Almost we can say film as well. It's very minimum, The more I explore this, the more I realize, that this it's just not there. If you think about it, it's amazing that our culture simply ignores one part of life. I mean, Yeah.
Yes. Do you find this to be fairly global?
I think so. I could not talk about languages that that I'm not familiar with, Far East and so on. But yes, I think it is. Definitely Western culture. I would say the common reactions that I get is women, like, say I post it on social network, they would say, amazing, I never thought about it. I never thought I could actually stop and think what it means, for a human being to give birth. So to me, again, it's another indication that it's not simply not there.
You think there's material there now for a sequel?
You mean me? That's an interesting idea, Julia, which I haven't thought about. Yeah.
Judging by the responses you've had, there might be quite a lot to work with on there.
It's clear to me that I'm touching a soft spot. Let's put it this way. It's very clear. Okay. By the way, the novel itself presents different angles, men and women, old, young, not only the woman that is giving birth. I actually hope that writing this book would generate some kind of discussion, some kind of. It's amazing that after so many years of feminism, I mean, we are all third wave of feminism, and this is not I don't feel that I fully have a clear-cut explanation why this happened. The different suggestions it has to do with with the religion and Christianity and feminine. I don't know, but I do know it's there. It's the repression is there. It is overlooked, definitely overlooked.
So after 5 cells and delivery, what's next?
So I have 2 novels in the pipeline that I've completed. It is called Intimate Solitude. It is a book about Israel, about the history of Israel. I know Israel get a lot of attention, in the media, bad and good, but often I feel that somehow a deeper perception of Israeli society is never there, or not enough there. This is a novel that begins in 1968, right after the Six-Day War, ends in 2016, so almost today. It is focused on the changes within Israeli society. And the main focus is Israel used to be a very socialist society when Israel was founded. And today it is super capitalistic. I mean, and this transformation has far-reaching consequences, on politics, on society. And this transformation has far-reaching consequences, on politics, on society, on the individual, on interpersonal relations. It is something way beyond the, just political party or, and this is mainly the focus of the books, but it follows the history of Israel, and it is, I could say it is an historical novel. It is an attempt to provide a different perspective of Israel, not better or worse, but hopefully a deeper one. Okay, hopefully a deeper one than just what you hear on the news. The occupation, the Arab-Israeli conflict. This is, I'm trying to present a different perspective, or I would say a richer one. Okay, so it has different angles. It's an historical novel, and it is about Israeli society. It's intimate and solitude. It's a combination of 2 very different things. I mean, it's a transformation from the intimate, a lot of intimate, and ended up with a lot of solitude. It has a lot to do with a very change. I mean, and the change was very gradual, and I don't think that at each point people fully understood the implications. I mean, you just change a little bit in your lifestyle, you do not another. You don't understand that this is taking a completely different path. To put it very, very roughly, very roughly, I mean, maybe oversimplified, would be that you moved from a place that you really feel, part of the society, feel that everything you do is, I don't want to say for the society because it's not fascist, but, everything is related somehow to the society, to a place where you do everything for yourself. And it's a huge transformation, but it's very slow and it's very gradual, and people are not always aware that on the way, what are the implications of their choices. That's how I feel about it. By the way, it changed a lot of influence on Israeli politics. People I don't think are fully aware of this. They think about, left and right, of course, and the conflict and the occupation, but I don't think they're fully aware that a lot of this has far-reaching consequences on politics as well. I mean, why certain individuals feel part of the right, why certain individuals feel part of...
And is that intergenerational?
Yes. So there's the founders of Israel, and then the next generation, and then the current contemporary businessmen in Israel were doing extremely well, as they are in truth, but they act in a completely different social circumstances, social surroundings today. They feel that whatever they do for their own good, as it is in other places. I mean, this is not typical only, not so much for society.
And the other novel?
The other novel, which I'm working on now, it's called The Compass Rose. It's completely different. It is a combination of 4 novellas are related to Renaissance thinkers. Okay, so my father was an art historian, majoring in Renaissance, and it's just some kind of closure for me, personal closure. And, Renaissance thinkers, artists contributed so much to the world as it is today. It's just that we are not always aware of this. So it is composed of, each novella is related to one artist, and so the first one is called On Perspective, and this is on Giotto. It's just a couple of pages on motion, and this is Leonardo da Vinci. And the third one is on time, and this is Michelangelo. And the third one and fourth one is synthesis.
And it's about Raphael.
So you already had experience in writing academic work. When you transitioned to writing fiction, what differences did you find, if any?
Oh, yes. It's like you could say it's like a completely different language, It's like, it is. Okay, so, has different angles. The writing itself is relevant. I don't want to say simple, but it's very straightforward. There's an argument. You want to support it. The process is relatively. It will happen according to the plan. I think it's rather rare that people start, like a book in academics in the humanities, and in the middle they change their mind and do something else. No, it's a straightforward. No, it's straightforward. And the process itself, not the writing, because the writing is always difficult, but the decision how to proceed, what to do, is actually relatively simple. I mean, whereas writing fiction, that's a completely different thing. When I start a fiction book, I know it's different from one author to another. For me, I have a clear idea what the book would be about. Okay, so I have a general theme. I always end up in a different place. I mean, it's an emotional process. It's very flexible. It's very fluid, I would say. It often happens, I don't want to say almost, but it often happens to me that I have this idea of a character, and she develops in a different way. I mean, you wonder if they have a life of their own, but I start this in one place, but I just feel the character is going another way, and what I've learned to do is just, let it go. Let the character develop wherever she needs to go. it's maybe better this way, it's, but it is, for me, it is a very, very emotional process. It's nothing, by the way, my Hebrew is on my mother tongue. When I write fiction, it has to be in Hebrew. I translate it later, but there's no way I could write fiction in English. Whereas when I write academic books, I write them in English. Okay, so it has to do with the fact that it is a very, very emotional process. There's no way I can do it, not in my mother tongue. Yeah, so it is very different. Yeah, I could say they're both in English, but they're like in a different language. Okay?
Yes, in both senses.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what set your first fiction book?
What set your first fiction book in motion? What got you writing?
I find it really hard to answer this. Okay, so it happened after my father passed away. I was very close to him, and both emotionally and also in terms of academically. I would say I used to ask for his advice, and he would read what I wrote, and we had this after he passed away, it was a very difficult experience for me. It was very painful, and I actually remember leaving the hospital. He passed away in a hospital in Jerusalem, and just leaving the hospital and feeling I need to write now. Okay, it was just immediate. Yeah. After a couple of days, it was really there, but it evolved very slowly. So, was it always there? I don't know. The only thing that I could say for sure that it was, in terms of time related to his death. So I often wonder what he would have thought if, had he read my books. But this is, of course, a question left without an answer. But it had to do with this. But the process of writing has, in a way, I feel I'm better at this. I don't mean that the books that I write are better now. No, I mean that my way of, translating my thoughts and ideas into fiction, I think I've improved, slightly improved. It doesn't mean that the book would be better. I just mean about the process. I think I'm a little bit better, and what I've learned to do is to let it develop in its own way. Okay, so if I have this idea and it's going somewhere else, okay, that's fine. Whereas when I started, I was very, worried that, I have this idea and the book and the novel is going and the maybe story is going in a different direction. I've learned to be more flexible in this respect. But I often think about it. What exactly made me think about writing just after his death? I don't know. I don't know. Actually, I think many people have this kind of reaction. I mean, not necessarily in terms of, turning to art, but would generate some kind of drastic response. They would do something unusual that they haven't done before. I think so. It does happen. It's not unusual. I mean, for me, it was turning to a fiction, but I think it would be true for other people as well. It's not uncommon.
I thought that if I closed my eyes, this day would vanish, as if it had never happened. The intense excitement, the hugs, the display of joy, Amir's whispering into the phone, which I overheard from the porch, and an inexplicable anxiety slowly materializing and turning into a physical stress that I couldn't ignore. They would all fade away if I didn't open my eyes. Yesterday evening, at this hour, everything was as usual, a daily routine unfolding as expected. A young couple, newlywed, wanted to bring a child into this world. Everything was progressing normally according to plan, but something went wrong. I don't know what it was. I find it hard to understand what happened, how this joyous event was transformed into a preposterous burden that I can't push aside.
Tell us a little bit more about delivery. Can you say something about Daphne? Who is she?
Daphne is what we would definitely call a successful person. She is a young woman living in Tel Aviv, but she's good looking. She's doing well professionally. She's fairly happily married. Economically, she's fine. It seems that everything in her life is going well. We don't expect, and suddenly, as she becomes pregnant, she realized something is very, very difficult here. She was previously, not fully, but to some degree, unaware of how difficult this would be. But suddenly, when she comes pregnant, there's a huge problem here. And at first, she tries to deny it, but then she realized, I am truly, truly afraid of this, and I don't know how to deal with it. And when she tries to approach other people, her mother, her friends, this I could say would definitely reflects my own experience. Certainly when in my first pregnancy, people, it's not that they don't understand her, but they are part of this mechanism that doesn't allow her to talk about her feelings. And the only response that she gets is, you'll forget it, it will pass. Once the baby is born, everything would be gone, all these words. And she feels, and she knows that it's not true. This is a, huge life event, and it's not going anywhere. It takes her by surprise, but it in a way diverts her life. It makes her, the whole experience from becoming pregnant until she's a mother, difficult. I want to say something, just for the record. I'm a mother of 3, and I just want to say that it just sounds, motherhood has been a source of a lot of happiness for me. I'm not in no way am I sorry, God forbid, that I have children, or the book does not in any way say that, being a mother is not good, it's not joyful, it doesn't bring happiness, not at all. But this has nothing to do with the fact that giving birth, producing a child, can be very painful and difficult. It's like two different things. In no way is it saying, that motherhood is not could not be a good experience. It can be a very good experience, but it is unrelated to the fact that the process of giving birth is difficult. It's not the same thing, it's not. So she's fine. It seems that everything is going for her. She's, but suddenly it's there, and she's pregnant, and she realized, this is huge fear. This is something that I have to deal with. And then the pregnancy itself, and I take great pride, if I may, Julia.
Of course.
In one chapter of the book. Really, the author should never say that, but I take great pride in the chapter that actually describes giving birth. Okay. This, to the best of my knowledge, is my contribution. Okay. So even if you go, well, maybe not Margaret Atwood would be different, but the very event itself is, I could say, almost never described. Very rarely described, as it is. So I take great pride in this specific chapter. Okay, so there's before and after. Okay, so then she's given birth, and there's a lot of happiness and joy with the baby, but all the after effects, the emotional effects after giving birth. So she's a person. We would call her, successful. I don't know if successful is the right word, but she's doing well. She's a young woman. Everything goes fine in her life until she finds that she's pregnant.
And where does Amir fit into her life? Amir is her husband, isn't he?
Yeah, right. So okay. So as feminists as we all want to be, this is, pregnancy, giving birth is a completely different experience for men and women. I would say he's a husband that's coming from the same, social environment. We would expect them to have a fairly comfortable life together. But also for him, once he finds that his wife is pregnant, all sorts of different emotions surface, and he is drifted to, he's having an affair with another woman, because to some degree, he too cannot handle this. Okay, emotionally, it is so difficult for him that he is, he's having an affair, he's doing all sorts of things, his experience says, but I think for men it's very different, actually. I mean, if you think about for women, the physical part would be the main thing. For men, it's more of an emotional thing, My life is going to change. It's never going to be the same. I will be committed in a way that, it's a commitment that will be there forever. So he fits into a life. They seem like a couple that come, from the same place, are going to the same together. But this pregnancy thing is yeah, in a way. Yeah. I just want to say that there are, we are talking about the pregnancy, but there are the grandparents that experience having a grandchild, first grandchild, and there's a young couple, the friends of Daphne and Amir, who hesitate. The woman doesn't want to become a mother. She wants to remain childless. So it's not all on the novel is about, just giving birth, but about the whole development and changes that happens in their lives because they are pregnant and then having a child. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The interactions, yeah.
How did Daphne and Amir first meet? At school? At university?
From the same, I don't want to say social place. Okay, that they're well educated. They live in north in Tel Aviv, which is relatively fluent place. I mean, not super rich, but it's
comfortable.
Yeah, they live a comfortable life. They have the same, we would expect that they have more or less the same kind of friends. They went more or less to the same kind of school. They come from, even if they didn't know each other, they come from the same place. In a way, I made it this way, I created it this way because to emphasize emotional impact of becoming pregnant, having a child, I did not want to, confuse it or mix it with the social, tensions or anything else. No, it seems like life is comfortable, but it isn't.
Now, as characters, would you say they are in tune with each other?
I definitely think that until.
As characters, would you say they were in tune?
I definitely think that until they were. After, no, I don't think so. No, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Something deep and profound happened to him, to her. That doesn't mean they're not going to stay together, but it's different. It's different. There's something very profound that happened to the both of them in different ways. After the pregnancy, there's before the pregnancy and after pregnancy in their relationships. Definitely, the relationship. Sorry. Yeah.
The bubble contracts again, shrinking into itself. Amir is glancing at me from across the room, asking me how I'm feeling. When I tell him that the contractions have begun, but that it is too soon to go to the hospital, his eyes sparkle. Nightbirds spring up with a cry, a bending branch is moaning, the wind is weeping, and a roaring thunderclap is heard from afar. The fear which I always knew existed turns into a petrifying horror. The understanding that a living creature is about to tear his way out of my body nearly makes me faint.
There's another character that I really like, if I may.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so there's Abigail. I invested a lot of thought and emotions and love, if I may, in creating this person. This is the younger people that, basically she wants to remain childless, doesn't want to have. Not everyone fits into this social framework of having children, having family, and she is very, very individualistic. And she is very creative. She doesn't just follow, what other people do. I really like this character. She doesn't want to become a mother. She does not accept. She suffers for this. Okay, I have often seen this. Young women, or not even young women that do not want to have children.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in my view, a person can have a full and rich and satisfactory life without having a child. This is, but society is very, very critical of these women, very critical, and she constantly has to fend off, people that would say, why did you want children? You're not a full person. And this is, for me, also an important part of the novel, is just to deal with this and to show. I'm very sympathetic of her. Okay, I think she's entitled to have any life she chooses to have, and she definitely can have full and rich and happy life without becoming a mother. Okay, but I think it is especially difficult for women. I think it would be easier for men to say that he doesn't want children than it is for a woman. Because somehow the criticism is, there's a soft spot of the, self-perception and people always point at this. And she is going through a very, very difficult times. The end is happy. I guess, yes, it would be the character that I'd sympathize most. Definitely. It would be. I really, really like her, individualistic spirit, and the fact that that she wants a certain thing in life, and that's what she's going to do, even though it's not an easy path. People are there to offend her and tell her that it's wrong, and she's worthless if she doesn't have children, and every woman should have children, and so on. And no, she insists. Definitely she sticks. With her. I especially like her. And she's very creative in terms of work. She's
Is she a designer?
She's an interior designer, doing extremely well. Okay, she's doing very well. She's very successful. And then because of this choice not to have the children, she's going through a personal crisis. She comes to London to just go away from. She's sitting in London, just in a coffee shop, not moving, and thinking, what's wrong with her life. And suddenly she has this idea that she is going to design a different apartment. Everyone has this modern design. Everyone, she's going to design an old-fashioned apartment. She has this idea that someone is willing to have this, and she's doing extremely well. She's getting a prize from international designing competition. Okay, She's very creative. She's just truly a very creative person, constantly looking for other ways to design apartments.
Already after the birth, full of excitement, Rebecca and I held hands for a long time. She normally sleeps in the bedroom. I fall asleep in what used to be Amir's room. But then, elated and exhausted, we went together to the bedroom and fell asleep in each other's arms. Well, we now sleep together again. After the initial excitement of the delivery subsided, a new passion emerged. Not restored youth, but on the contrary, a revived old age. A new encounter with our aging bodies.
Some writers find their characters living in their imagination, and others discover them, create them, based on people they know. Where do your characters live? Do they come fully formed out of your imagination, or do you have to build them?
I build them. No character is just one specific person that I know. None. Not in this book, not in the other book. There is no one person that I know and I just describe. None. I develop all of them. They live in my memories, in my...
Do you find music helps while you're writing?
I have developed a strange habit. Okay, so I sometimes listen to Buddhist music while I'm writing. I found it on the web. It's not that I'm an expert. It's just that there's something that it's both relaxing and it's very foreign. It's not. I don't understand the word. I don't understand. It's just that I listen to music that is completely different from my world. I've tried to listen to classical music, but it's not the same. Buddhist music is like transforming me to a different world, to a different place. And maybe only in this place it's easier for me to, let go, let the character grow and develop in my imagination, as you've said. I just happened to do it once. I felt it was so fruitful in a way. I mean, it's just the songs are very, very long. They would be like half an hour or something like this, and it's just very good. It's very good. It's just there in the background, and it's and I don't understand the word, but yes, in a way, it is inspiring. I'm not sure I know exactly why, but it is. Yeah.
It helps you to focus, perhaps, as well.
Maybe I don't know. As I said, I think it has to do with the fact that it's something from a completely different world. So I think that's the answer.
Indeed. Emanuela, thank you very much for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very glad. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
And we close with a couple of...
This was the Holland House podcast, and you have been listening to Emanuela Barasch-Rubinstein in conversation with Julia Warren.